one feature which is prominent as a cool thing, especially for a car in this segment, as luxury cars won't have had it, is the dynamic suspension, which is now gone.
Okay.
What I remember about that setup was that I did not like it very much.
Okay.
It used to be a little bumpy and clattery. Didn't really feel settled on our roads. I believe, and I'm talking about, I drove the Kodiaq way long back. Like we first drove it in Mallorca when it was launched globally, where it was great. After that, when we drove it in India, yeah, it felt, even then actually it didn't feel that good. But in India, then you found it a little clattery. But apparently they had improved on that over the lifespan of the car. Now the system is not here at all. So this setup, in effect, will be a very different setup compared to that, whatever we'd experienced earlier. Right? So let's get with that. So the ground clearance of the car has also gone up a bit. They've given the laden figure, which is great because when it's fully loaded, it'll be at least 155 mm.
Got it.
And looking at the car, I didn't know the number when I was driving the car. Looking at the car, and I'd taken it off the road onto this little space that I had. It's a lot. I didn't worry about it prior to that. I didn't worry about it after that for sure, because you can visually see there's a lot of room there. So the suspension, which was my least favorite part about the Kodiaq, what my memory of the Kodiaq is. And by and large, I'm treating this as a new car because it's been so long since I drove the Kodiaq.
Yep.
This setup is a good setup. It's a very competent setup. One thing I will suggest to you is to be, since we don't have a TPMS on this, be sure to check your pressures regularly, because when I did drive it the first time, when I didn't know the pressures, they were set at 34.
Right.
And when I drove it like that, I found that it felt a little bit harder over the bumps. But next day, when I had set it to 36 and then drove it, it was a very different experience.
Okay.
It was a far smoother and a far more plush experience over the rough stuff.
Got it.
Right? So even over our roads, the sharp stuff, like the sharp edges, potholes with nice cuts around them, it deals with all of that surprisingly well.
Your takeaway from that should be that this particular car suspension setup and the way the wheels and tires work with it, it is sensitive to changes in tire pressure. So if you'd like to stay comfortable and you therefore pay attention to tire pressures more often than you, or at least be more careful with it than often, you'd get a noticeable benefit from it.
Yeah. And because the tires, I forget which tires they are, right? So
the black rubber things.
Correct. Which brand they are, whatever, you'll see them in the pictures. The point is that, different tires can have different characteristics as well. And clearly these tires like to be at that optimal pressure, higher pressure, so that they work well. Otherwise, they might be a little soft, which is why they end up squishing a bit. Right? So the pressures really helped when it was set up right. And then it was city driving, it was highway driving, it was corners, bumpy corners. And through all of that, this car remains settled.
Nice. Okay.
It's not that it's absolutely smooth, but it's always like minimal fuss. It's going over those rattly roads and it just goes like lightly skips over everything and it's out.
Very cool.
Really good. Definitely. For a car, and you realize that this is a big car when you're driving it because it has a little bit of body movement. It'll have a little bit of roll. And when you're going through, like, I love how many of our, whether it's Pune or whether it's Mumbai, our flyovers have those lovely dips that we keep going through. Now, this big car is going through them and it softly settles into it. But when it comes out of it, it just comes and settles right back.
Nice.
There's no movement. It feels so controlled because of that. And it feels so mature. That part I loved. Without the fanciness of adaptive suspension and all of that, it felt so controlled. And even at different speeds, not just at low speeds, even at faster speeds.
So there are Kodiaq boats, but the Kodiaq, this current Kodiaq is not a boat.
Oh. Despite, I don't know, without the adaptive suspension, we could have gone there. No, it's not.
Nice.
So, it's a good car to travel in because of that, whether you're sitting in the front or in the back. So the back seat may not be the most impressive part of the car from a sense of roominess, but if you're sitting there, you don't have any reason to complain. You will travel comfortably over there. The hitch with the suspension is sound.
Okay.
The suspension always makes some kind of noise, right? When it's working, like that, it does that. Every once in a while, you hear a more prominent sound from the front, which is like a subframe sound when it's moving, right? So those kind of things. And trust me, this is not something to worry about. When you've had an expensive car, you'll know that one thing every expensive car owner does is, "Arey, it makes that one sound, yeah." It's like a... Every car has something like that. There's the creaking from the roof or from the back seat or from the... all these cars have something like that. Now, this one has it. Initially, because of the sound, you will think that the car is not capable of dealing with our roads.
Got it.
Right? It'll happen. It's natural, right? You'll hear the suspension working and all of that. Like, oh, maybe
I need to be more cautious with this.
You don't need to.
Got it.
I tried it. And I tried it over really bad potholes at speed, around corners, bumpy tarmac, really bumpy tarmac. It just stays set.
So it's a noise. It's not a real thing.
It's not a worry. It is again this thing of, if it had to feel more lavish, if it had to feel... Now this price range we're sitting at, about 50 lakhs. You're sitting in the X1, Q3...
X-Trail.
No. X-Trail territory, right? So you're thinking of the luxury cars, right? So these smaller things like the plastics, the sound aspect, those all kind of kick in and say that, it's not quite...
No, but yeah, see, I'm getting the clear impression from your impressions so far that this is a very competent car.
Yeah.
It approaches the idea of luxury with a very clear sense of, we need to check off all of these boxes. But to build that experience to, oh, here's a luxury car for you, that's clearly not the intent of this car.
Yeah. I mean,
and if it was the intent, then they haven't actually achieved it. This clip is actually from a much longer video, which is on our main channel, which is called MotorInc. Why don't you visit us there? This idea in more detail over there with my great friend Kartikeya. You like him, right?